As we are starting the new year, I was looking at my whole 2026 and I've actually stacked a massive year for myself and I'm super excited. So I just wanted to make a video talking about my goals for 2026, but also something for me to, at the end of the year, be able to look back on and hopefully have accomplished some, if not all of these things, and just been proud I had the courage to attempt some of these. What I hope doesn't happen is that my goals are too big and I end up disappointed in some way. And that might happen because if you have the courage to have big goals, there's a bigger chance you could fail. And that's just something we all need to be better at because if you're never failing, then you're never trying. I made a big list here on my iPad of all of my goals and I'm just going to go through them. Mostly for myself, but also I'm going to be documenting this journey on YouTube because I documented my 75 hard journey and it was actually a lot of fun. So I'm going to continue doing that through my training for these races. And I might do 75 hard again later this year. So I have 3 main races this year and then several supporting races. So the first big one is in April, and it's the Oklahoma City Memorial Marathon, and that'll be my first marathon distance race. I'm really excited about it. My first half marathon was at this race in 2025, and as soon as I finished it, I knew I wanted to come back in 2026 and run the full. The next big race is an Ironman 5150, and it's in Ruidoso, New Mexico. I'm not sure how it even came across my radar, but I got sucked into all the Ironman stuff. So triathlon is new. I got a bike on Facebook Marketplace and I will be learning how to swim and everything all by this summer to be attempting the Ironman 5150. And it's an Olympic distance triathlon. And then if that goes well and I like the triathlon sport, maybe later on I can go for those longer distances. The other big race I kind of have on my radar for 2026 is the Paladuro Trail Run 50K. I was actually signed up for this one last year, and due to some injuries and just overtraining, I bumped the rest of my races down to the lower level ones, and I still did all my races. So I did the 25K last year. My hope is to go back this year and complete the 50K. So those are my 3 main races. All of my training and stuff is structured around those. Now, the supporting races I've got are Las Vegas Half Marathon, and that's actually in the middle of February, so it's coming up fast. I'm running the 5K and the half marathon, so I'm doing the whole weekend there in Las Vegas, and it's the rock and roll series, and it looks like a lot of fun. So it's actually only 7 weeks away. Hopefully I've got enough jump on my training to not have that just be a huge hurdle and it be more of a fun run. I would be running that distance anyways for training. That's why I put it in there to prepare for my marathon. There is another race out in Paladuro Canyon that is an endurance focused one that is a lapped course, and you can either choose 3 hours or 6 hours, and then you just run as much as you can in that amount of time. The weekend it's happening is my peak mileage for my marathon training, and so I did sign up for that one because I might as well do a 20-mile training run with the support of aid stations and friendly faces to help get past that distance, because once I get there, that'll be the furthest I've ever run each time I go a new distance. And I love running out in Paladuro Canyon, so I did sign up for the 6-hour one with the goal of getting at least 20 miles in, and that might be a stretch because the Paladuro Canyon is hillier than I normally train on. The goal is 20, and it's a looped course, so once you get out there, you gotta finish it anyways, so we'll see what happens. I did sign up for it, and I'll just take as long as it takes me to get my miles in and focus on time on feet for that peak training, and then it goes straight into my marathon. There is also another Paladaro Canyon race called Fireball. I ran it last year. I was originally signed up for the half, and I bumped it down to the 4 mile, considering signing up for the half again and using it as, one of my training runs, but getting to be in the trail running community for some of those definitely helps, because they're also nice and it's beautiful down there, and you really feel a part of a community. You really feel like a part of the community. Sometimes those training runs can just be long and you're by yourself, which also can be good, but I like the atmosphere. It definitely helps. I've got a handful of virtual races already purchased and strategically put in my plan for some of the milestone races in my regular training. So those will be fun. Another fun run I have is the Enchanted Forest trail races in Red River, New Mexico. It always happens on the weekend that we are vacationing there anyways. And that was another race. Last year I was signed up for the heavy half trail marathon, and I bumped it down to the face challenge, which ended up being around 7 miles. And so I have already signed up for the half marathon this year, and that'll fit well into my ultra training. And that's my favorite place on the whole planet. And I just had a blast being able to participate in a race there last year, and I'm looking forward to do it again this year. As far as races go, that's my plan so far. There might be some 5Ks or 10Ks that are locally that me and the kids and maybe my husband will enter in, but some of these bigger races, they get kind of expensive, and so I really need to not just sign up for everything because they're fun, because it's really gonna cost a bunch to do everything, and I want to save for some of those bigger, more branded races. Now, I am a type 1 diabetic, and so my training just revolves around how well I can do it while managing my blood sugars. So I do have training goals, but not really like the normal person, because I can only go as hard as my blood sugar will allow. The goal is just to participate and complete these races, and with the hopes of my endurance and everything getting better as I go along, but it's kind of at the mercy of how well I can control my blood sugar. Now, on the diabetes note, I do have a A1C goal of being in the 5s, and honestly, I would have already gotten there, but with all of this training, sometimes that makes it hard to control your blood sugar. So had I not been training so hard this year, I bet my blood sugar would have been better. And that might not make any sense if you have no idea what I'm talking about, but an A1C in the 5s would be awesome. Another goal that I have is during 75 Hard, I really enjoyed the reading aspect. I have a ton of books here. Most of these are nonfiction, almost all of them actually. And on 75 Hard, you have to read 10 pages of a nonfiction book a day. And when I'm not on program, I tend to slack on that. And so I really want to make it a goal to continue reading 10 pages a day of a nonfiction book, just to keep learning and reading because it's good for me and I enjoy it, not because it's on 75 Hard. And I also recently started reading fiction books, really for the first time, as a way to wind down at night instead of using screens. I also want to add that in. So a little leisure reading along with reading to learn. I am also doing Bible in a year again. In 2025, I got behind and never caught back up. And I have read through the Bible twice. And so my goal is to do it again in 2026. I'm using a plan that's in chronological order, and it's got weekly questions and Bible studies to go along with it. For my diet, I eat a carnivore diet majority of the time, and recently I went as strict as a beef, butter, bacon, and eggs challenge only, and I did really well being that strict. And so my hope is that I can kind of be strict majority of the time, but have a little leniency on the more fun carnivore foods, or even just regular foods too, but be super intentional with how I'm eating because it makes me feel a lot better and it helps with my blood sugar control as well. And it fuels all of these things that I want to do. Goal weight, I'm actually only like 3 or 4 pounds away from my goal weight, but I've gotten to the point where that doesn't really even mean anything to me because I'm not sure the version of me that is capable of doing the races and stuff how I want to. That's a really strong, muscular version of me, and I have no idea what that ideal weight is. So my weight goal is actually just a get stronger goal and hopefully lose some more body fat along the way so I am more confident with how I look. But honestly, it's not going to be something I worry about too much because my goal is what I can do more so than how it looks. I love doing 75 hard, and like I said, I just finished a round and I vlogged the whole thing if you want to go back and look at that. I have to get away from the idea of just starting rounds over and over again because that's what I've done. And there's nothing wrong with that, but I think the point is to also be able to be disciplined for myself and not just because Andy told me to. That's my goal for this next little section is I've made a whole new program for myself. So I didn't change 75 hard because I don't think you should do that. But I needed something I could check off every day, like the 75 hard, because that was motivating for me. And so what I've done is I've taken my training plan and everything that I want to do, and I just made it into my own little program. And it's 7 weeks long. And I'm going to call it 49 Momentum for 49 days. 49 Momentum, the quiet work. Me and ChatGPT came up with that while I was texting it. And the idea behind this is to give myself enough structure, but not be on 75 hard. So I learned to follow it for myself. And it's going to be 2 workouts a day, Monday through Friday, and then a long run on Saturday, and no workouts on Sunday. A gallon of water every day, 10 pages of reading, Bible study, eating intentionally and well. So those are very similar to 75 hard, but structured around what I'm doing over the next few months. And that will lead me up to my Las Vegas half marathon 7 weeks away. And I think I will do daily updates on TikTok with this, just because that's another thing that keeps me accountable and I look forward to it. So anything you can do to enjoy the things that are actually helping you, I think is good. Another goal I have is to continue doing YouTube, and my weekly vlogs are now going to turn into marathon training weeks of my life. So from week to week, they might look different on how I decide to do the video, but that's going to be the goal. Then another video during the week, maybe about diabetes or some of my other interests. So that was a lot of fun for me to think through everything I want to do in 2026. But the main thing that I need to work on is my time management, because the most important things to me are homeschooling my kids and my home management and everything I do as a wife and mom. And so if those end up slacking due to all this other stuff that I need to do, I'm going to have to back off the races. In order for me to be able to check off all these other things on my list, I really need to get with it on making sure I'm getting my training and things done early or at a time where we're not doing school so that I do not have to worry about it while I am doing my most important work. If you have made it this far in the video, thank you so much for watching. I hope you stick around for the journey because 2026 is going to be a fantastic year.